From a teacher embarrassing a spoiled kid in front of everyone to a teacher literally being like, all right, spoiled kid, that's enough, and fighting back, bro. These are the craziest teacher stories of all time. So let's get right into the teacher movie. Let's go. How's it going, everyone? Today we got a story time of probably one of the most spoiled kids ever getting destroyed by his college professor. It is probably one of the greatest stories I've ever told in the channel, so sit back, relax, subscribe if you like stories, and let's get right into it. So we're going to call the subscriber who sent in this story Isaiah. By the way, Isaiah sent this into my Instagram, links in the description. So anyways, this was Isaiah's first year of college, and first year of college is scary, man. Isaiah was kind of like, he had his classes, he just moved into the dorm. He was getting nervous about it, but he was heading off to his first class. He gets there, he sits down. This is an English class, by the way. He's looking around at all of his classmates, kind of just seeing who's going to be like the people who he's going to be spending the rest of the semester with. I don't know, it's a nervous situation, but the English teacher starts off, pretty nice, pretty calm. He said, all right, guys, go around, introduce yourself, say like, I don't know, a fun fact or something, which I always hate that because I'm like, I don't know, man. I don't want to say I have a YouTube channel, but I don't know what else is fun about me. I have a dog? I don't know, dude. But sure enough, they go around, and Isaiah's like, hi, my name is Isaiah. I'm, 18 years old. I'm from, let's say, Nevada. I don't know, man. And then he says a fun fact. He said, I don't know, I can juggle or something like that. And they go around, and eventually it gets to this kid. And we're just going to call him the spoiled kid because my brain is still a little goofy right now, so I don't think I can hold that many names in my head. So we're just going to call him the spoiled kid. And once it comes around to the spoiled kid, he's like, hello, my name is Spoiled Kid. Obviously, he doesn't say, my name is Spoiled Kid, but you know what I mean. He says his actual name. He's like, hello, my name is Spoiled Kid. And a fun fact about me is my dad has partial ownership, and then he says some kind of sports team. Obviously, I don't want to say the sports team. It wasn't anything like a crazy sports team. It wasn't like the New York Jets or anything like that. But it was like still a sports team, and I obviously don't want to say anything, so I don't want to give them away or anything. But bro, everyone in the class was kind of looking around, kind of just like, did this kid just say that like his dad has ownership in a sports team? Like he's basically saying, yo, my dad has the big bucks, bro. That's basically what he just said, dude. So anyways, right away, Isaiah kind of knows that this kid's going to be, the spoiled kid is going to be, a little interesting, and that this school year is going to be definitely kind of interesting. So fast forward a couple weeks, and Isaiah's actually doing really well. He's found a good group of friends that happen to be on his hall, and life's pretty good. His classes are pretty decent, and the spoiled kid hasn't done anything crazy in his English class. Yeah, he's a little snotty. Yeah, he's a little stuck up. Yes, he wants everyone to see his Yeezys all the time, but whatever, man, like, fine. He can deal with that. However, things start to get really, really crazy when it is about, I'd say, like 2 weeks into the school year, and the English teacher has a very kind of a light assignment, kind of just wanted to get them warmed up for the year. He's like, all right, guys, so here's our first assignment. I'm going to ask you guys to write a one-page paper on literally anything you want. Like literally write whatever you want. You'll be graded kind of on how well, it's written, as well as kind of just the whole presentation in general. Oh yeah, by the way, you'll be presenting it in front of everyone. So this is a very, very important detail, because if the spoiled kid wrote about what he wrote about and no one else heard about it, well, you guys probably wouldn't have been hearing the story. But you're hearing the story because part of the assignment is that you have to read this thing aloud to everyone. Public speaking is scary, but this English class was kind of focused on, it was a public speaking English class. So of course, right, like at the end of the day, man, you're going to have to do some public speaking in a public speaking English class. I mean, hey, that's just what you signed up for. So anyways, Isaiah's kind of excited because Isaiah is really into guitars. He's really into, just like the history of guitars, playing guitars, music. He was just really obsessed with it. And this was kind of an opportunity for him to, for him to shine in a sense and kind of show off a bit of his personality to everyone else in the class. So sure enough, right, Isaiah goes back, and within a couple days, he's finished up his paper. It's a one-page paper. It's really not a big deal. and he's written it about, like, he just has the history of guitars, like, the first one that was ever made, and I don't know if it was made, like, the Middle Ages, or the original guitar, and it's, like, important throughout history. And, Isaiah practices this paper a few times in front of his friends, yada, yada, whatever, they get to class. And I'm just going to skip ahead to the good part. So Isaiah goes, totally fine. He kills it, right? Everyone kind of claps. And I think someone afterwards, like, says, hey, I do want to join our band. Like, I don't know if you're into guitars, and obviously, Isaiah's pretty good at the guitar. I mean, thinks about it all the time or whatever. So yes, he joins the band, but this is not a story about, the college group of kids starting a band. This is a story about a spoiled kid getting destroyed by his teacher, and I shall provide. Because sure enough, the spoiled kid, remember, this is the same kid who on the first day, his fun fact was his dad owned a large part in a sports team. Like, bro, is that really your fun fact, dude? But anyways, the spoiled kid goes up and he starts to read out his presentation. He's like, ahem, everyone, pay attention. And he gets up there and everyone's looking up and the teacher's looking up with, this look of like, what could be ahead of us? Only clear skies. False. Because oh my God, dude, I can only imagine this happened in my college. But basically, right, the spoiled kid went up there and was like, so today I'm writing about something of great interest to me, and that is my daddy's wealth. And everyone's like, bro, what did you do? Like, what did you just say, dude? Like, there's no chance that this kid was just like, today I'm going to be talking about my father's money. But he legitimately was like, oh, I'm going to be talking about something I'm interested in. Dude probably sat down and was like, oh, what am I interested in? Status, wealth, what else? Oh, prestige. Prestige is definitely something I'm interested in. And he goes on to talk about like a little history about how his daddy made all of his money. And just, my brain really is falling apart, dude. Oh my God. And then he goes on to give, like, exact dollar amounts, and it was something like his dad's he was, like, given, like, a net worth calculation. He's like, so if you add up all of the rare art assets, the rare fish assets, I'm just kidding, the house, the stocks, the equities, if you have the land that we unfairly got from, like, Venezuela or something, if you add up all of those, our net worth is probably around $45 million. And he was like, so this, and he finishes up by saying, I hope you guys enjoyed my writing. And the other thing that I need to point out is this writing was terrible. Like, it wasn't even like, it was like third grade level in like grammar and writing. Like, it was really, really bad. And the thing is, right, the teacher isn't about to fail a kid because he doesn't like him. But at the end of the day, if it's still a writing class, bro. If your writing sucks in a writing class, I hate to say it, man, but you're going to get a low mark. And so this is where things get really, really interesting. I can't speak. Real quick, the secret word of the day is spoiled. So if you made it this far into the video, comment spoiled. I don't know if I'll be hard in comments today or not, but I will try to at least. So comment down below spoiled if you made it this far into the video. And also, I just want to say thank you guys for giving me the time to take a break over the last couple days. It isn't exactly what you think, but it was a pretty scary couple days. I think I'm doing much better now, and I'm getting back into it. But I just want to say that the only reason why the channel is doing so well is because you guys went back and binge-watched a bunch of old videos. So if you guys are watching old videos, please tell me in the comment section down below, I binge-watched videos, or I'm on number 3, right, or number 20 or whatever. And I'll try and heart your comment and say thank you, because the reason why the channel is doing so crazy right now is because you guys are binge-watching a bunch of videos. I'm just going to get back to the story. I just wanted to say thank you from the bottom of my heart for that. Anyways, right, by the end of the presentation, the entire class is like completely shocked. Isaiah's shocked. The teacher has a shocked look on his face. The rest of the class is just like, oh my God, like, did that kid literally just sit down and just like read out a presentation about how rich his dad was and literally break down his net worth to like individual stocks and real estate holdings? Like, that's the most goofiest thing I've ever heard. So the spoiled kid sits down and kind of looks like, he kind of has this face of like, oh yeah, I just killed it, guys. Like, I'm gonna get an A+, triple plus on this one. Like, obviously it's not, but getting to that in a second. So anyways, let's just skip ahead like one day later, because it only takes about a day for the teacher to give back the grades, because the grades are literally just 50% how was your speaking component and 50% how well was it actually written, like grammar-wise. And the teacher, before handing back the grade, said, hi guys, like, thank you so much for your work. Like, I could see how hard you guys, like, how much work you put into it yesterday. I really, really do appreciate it. By the way, I will not grade on the subject matter. I'm literally just grading on your grammar / writing ability, and then also your speaking ability. This is a very small assignment, so if you don't receive the grade you want, this is just to show you where you kind of stand in the class now. And trust me, I'm looking like you guys are all going to improve. And I actually expect all you guys to at least leave the class with a B+, A- at a minimum by the end of the semester. So don't be discouraged if the grade's a little lower than you think. So whatever, right? If you get a low grade on this assignment, it's a small assignment, one would think. So the teacher starts walking around the class and starts handing out the grades back. And Isaiah gets a A- on his paper. And he's super excited. He's like, that's great. That's a great way to start the year. Then the teacher hands back the paper to the spoiled kid. And the spoiled kid picks up the piece of paper, and you could just see a look of rage on his face. A look of absolute, like, turmoil and just anger, whatever. And while it wasn't really, like, announced what the grade was in the beginning, because, like, who really knows, Isaiah figured out kind of later on the line, the spoiled kid got a C+. Which, like, sure, a C+ might not be, like, the greatest thing ever, and for a lot of people. However, it's not a bad grade, and also it's a very small assignment in the beginning of the year, and the teacher said, it's going to get better. Your grade's going to get better. Don't even sweat it. But the spoiled kid, when he receives his paper, he starts getting really, really, really mad. And he stands up in front of everyone. And the whole class, who was just kind of like preparing to getting ready to go into the next part of the assignment, they're putting their grades away back into their book bags or whatever. They all turn to look at the spoiled kid, because out of the blue, the spoiled kid just shoots up and he's like, teacher. And the teacher's like, yes, spoiled kid. Obviously doesn't say spoiled kid, but you know what I mean. You guys know by this point what I mean when I say that. And the spoiled kid's like, you're discriminating against me because of my status. And everyone, just once again, they thought that this kid couldn't go even more crazy, right? But bro, they're just like, no way this kid just said that he got a bad grade because he's being discriminated against because he's too rich or something. And the teacher's like, that's nonsense. Like, I graded you on your performance, which was pretty good, but on the writing side, it just wasn't that good. Like, trust me, you're going to improve a ton throughout the year. Don't even worry about it. Which, shout out to the teacher for not, like, getting super angry, because, like, I would be pretty upset. Like, if I was a teacher, I don't think I'd have the same cool as this teacher. Because, like, the kid literally said, you're discriminating against me because I'm rich, but whatever, right? And the student's like, no, like, you won't hear, like, this isn't the end of this. I will not let such discrimination against me because of my wealth status. Like, I will not let this stand. And the spoiled kid grabs his backpack, kind of like shoots up his head, shoots up the back of his spine. It says, good day, sir, and storms out of the class. And everyone sitting in the class right now just slack-jawed, their mouths are gaping open. They're just like, what? And the teacher didn't really know where to go from there. So the teacher kind of jokingly said, well, that was not what I had in the lesson book. And everyone kind of burst into laughter because it was pretty awkward. So he broke the awkward silence pretty well. And then the teacher's like, all right, you know what? We're just going to keep moving on. We're just going to keep going. Let's talk about public speaking. Let's talk about some tips and practices to make it easier for you guys who are struggling with it. And they kind of go on with the day. And Isaiah, during the entire class, is just thinking to himself, oh my God. Isaiah, though, kind of thinks that the craziness in that class is going to be done, that they're going to be, like, totally set at that point. However, right, before the class is over, about 5 minutes before the class ends, the door slams open, like it just shoots open, and the spoiled kid walks in all proud. And the teacher's like, oh, have you cooled off? And the spoiled kid, who's just walked in, just like completely slammed himself back into the room, has this smug look on his face. And the teacher's like, hello, ? And the spoiled kid's like, I just reported you to the office for discrimination because I'm rich. He said, see you in court, which, like, he reported him to, like, the administration. I don't think that's going to get you in court, bro. I hate to break it to you, but I'm pretty sure if you report someone for, I don't know, like, hating you because you have a lot of money, you're not going to, like, go to court. Oh, this is going before the Supreme Court, guys. Trust me. So anyways, right, Isaiah is just sitting there, and he's just like, oh my God, like this kid was legit. Because everyone kind of just thought this kid was like, knew that obviously he was not being discriminated against because he had a ton of money, and that he was just being ridiculous, and that he was just like running away because he had an anger problem or something. But no, like legit, he went and reported him. So the teacher was like, oh, okay, well, fine. If you want to play it that way, then we'll play it that way. This spoiled kid's like, yeah, get wrecked, bro. Oh, and then he just kind of like runs out of the classroom. And everyone is just like, oh, what just happened there? And the teacher once again says, well, that was also not on the lesson plan. So anyways, the next day comes around, and Isaiah, like whatever's happening in the class, Isaiah's not even thinking about it because he's just so caught up in the drama that's been going on between the teacher and the spoiled kid. And Isaiah's been like telling everyone in his like all of his new friends and everyone in his dorm just about everything that's been going on. And every day they come back saying, oh, do you have any updates? Do you have any updates? So obviously last night when he came back with the updates about how the spoiled kid threatened to sue the guy, they were like, oh my God, this is actually more entertaining than anything on Netflix right now. But anyways, right, the next day in class, Isaiah's, he walks in, he's like, all right, what episode of Spoiled Kid versus Teacher will it be today? And he kind of doesn't expect the spoiled kid to come in, right? But sure enough, the spoiled kid comes in the class, and he walks in with his, like, chest all puffed out, coming in all proud, like, like, I'm the man, I'm that guy, like, you all better fear me, or you're getting, I don't know, sued for discrimination because I'm rich as well, oh, whatever, right? But sure enough, the teacher's like, oh, spoiled kid, you decided to come. I just thought that, we would settle this once and for all and in front of everyone. So basically, right, the teacher has had enough of the spoiled kid's antics and decides to drop the equivalent of a nuke on him. So sure enough, right, the administration walks into class a couple minutes after the teacher sends an email or a text or some kind of message, right? So the teacher wasn't sure if the spoiled kid was going to come into class, but he had more or less arranged with the administration for them to come in and handle this if the spoiled kid was to come to class, kind of to like show off as a spectacle and to make sure that people don't file false stuff with the administration because they hate having their time wasted. So anyways, right, the administration comes into class and the spoiled kid's like, yes, they're gonna take you away. Ha ha ha. I know that they're in here right now to drag you out of here. He looks at the rest of the class. He's like, you're welcome, guys. I read it. You have this demon who hates you if you have money. And everyone is just like, oh my God, this kid's delusional, bro. And so sure enough, right, the administration is like, today we'll be talking about the case of spoiled kid versus, teacher, said the actual names or whatever. And they're like, after doing a thorough investigation, we found that there are no signs of any form of discrimination. The teacher obviously was, grading off of the, the poor grammar and failure to construct proper sentences of the spoiled kid. And Isaiah looks over and sees the spoiled kid's face like completely fall apart. He's like, what? No, yeah, right, but whatever. And, the administration goes on to say, like, the spoiled kid will receive, like, X kind of punishment. I don't know exactly what punishment. It was pretty light, but he still received some kind of punishment for wasting the administration's time. That is all. And they got up and they left, and the class was completely silent. And the teacher's like, all right, guys, I just thought that was important just to have out there. I thought it was a good idea to just have you guys all see that. But anyways, let's get back to what's important. Let's talk about grammar, sentence structure, and how to have really good writing. And the teacher just goes on with the class like nothing just happened. And everyone's kind of dazed. Everyone's kind of out of it because of the crazy thing that just happened. But the teacher's like, you know what? We're just going on with class as if nothing happened. Yeah, but sure enough, soon after, literally the day of, the spoiled kid ended up dropping that English class. And he still had enough credits to stay in the school or stay in the college and was able to drop it. But yeah, the next day Isaiah walked in, the spoiled kid was gone. And unfortunately, his dorm mates were very sad because he had to come back and say, guys, I'm sorry, the spoiled kid has dropped out. There will be no more crazy stories. And they're like, no. How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. Today I got a story that I know you will enjoy because a spoiled kid who's being a massive jerk it basically gets owned by the teacher in front of the class. It's just one of those perfect karma stories that kind of just makes you feel good by the end. So sit back, relax, subscribe if you're new, and let's just jump right into it. So we're going to call the subscriber who submitted this story Errol, and Errol submitted this to me over on Instagram. So if you want to submit your own story, the link is in the description. We're also on Spotify, by the way. But anyways, right, so this all happened in 6th grade. And at the very end of 6th grade, there was like a very big math exam, and this math exam would basically decide which math class you're going to be put into the next year. And there was a lot of emphasis on doing well on it. I mean, they wanted kids to try because, there were apparently or maybe in theory, if kids wanted to be in an easier class, they just fail this test on purpose, as, if you did poorly on the test, then you could be in the easy math class and then you'd have an easier time next year. But the whole idea is that they changed it so that the big math test at the end of the 6th grade year would also have a pretty big impact on your grade. It was like it was a weird mixture of effort-based, but also how well you did. So they were like, all right, good, you need to learn this material, but it also happened to help determine what math class you're. What I'm trying to say is there's a big test at the end of the year. I went into a lot of unnecessary detail that I received. I'm sorry about that. But anyways, right, so we're going to call, Errol. We already named the subscriber, right? They spent probably about 2 weeks before the test in math class because they intentionally finish up all the content that they need to know about 2 weeks before the test actually is, so that they can dedicate that 2 weeks 100% to the test. So anyways, right, they're in a study group, and in this study group they were put into, it was basically at the very first day before the 2 weeks before class, before the end of class, which is also the day of the test, they were put into a study group, and basically the teacher said, hey, you can study on your own, but you have to at least be at the table with your study group. I just want to make sure that everyone has the opportunity to ask questions to your peers, especially if I can't get around to everyone. So this is pretty good in theory. And in the very first day, he said, you guys actually do need to talk with each other. After that, it's up to you. So the first day, Errol sits down, and the people in his study group are him, some other people, and then the spoiled kid. And obviously, right, he isn't known as the spoiled kid, right? But that's what we're going to call him for the sake of this video, just because it makes it easier on me. I don't have to remember 1,000 names. And the spoiled kid had always kind of gotten everything he ever wanted. Very standard definition for the spoiled kids in my videos, right? So they sit down and they start talking, and basically what Errol starts talking about and the other kids in their group start talking about is basically what is their plan to study for this exam, because they all know that it's very difficult. They also all know that it will take a lot of time and effort to do well with, and they all know that they need to be well prepared. So Errol's going about I'm going to cover chapters 1 through 6 for the first week. Then I'm going to do chapters 7, 8, and 9, and the last couple on the 3 days after that. And then the 3 days before the exam, I'm just going to do a full-on review. And it kind of goes around the circle like that, and people are planning out their study guides or whatever, and asking very basic topics like, is X on the assignment or whatever, and sometimes the teacher would come around and answer it. But the most important detail that you need to know is that the spoiled kid, the one that was, the spoiled kid, the one who was sitting at the group with them, when it kind of went around what are you doing to prepare? The spoiled kid said, I'm not going to prepare. I'm an intellectual genius. Errol kind of just looks at him. And the other kids in the class kind of just look at him. Because no disrespect to the spoiled kid, maybe a little bit, but they've heard him ask questions. And it's good to ask questions. And look, a lot of times in class, I'm asking questions that, sometimes I think back, I'm like, damn, you really were not paying attention if you asked that question. But the spoiled kid was not asking genius level questions, right? He was asking very standard, if not subpar questions. So they were kind of looking at him like, okay, I guess. And, I don't know about you, but most people that are actually very intelligent don't go around telling everyone, I'm very intelligent. Maybe if they lack a lot of emotional intelligence, they might, but, or just situational understanding and the logic behind that. But anyways, right, they had a few suspicions that the spoiled kid was actually not the reincarnation of Albert Einstein. Just a few sneaking suspicions that might have not been the case, But anyways, though,
Oh, by the way, leave a like on this video because today is my birthday, and that will be my birthday present. If you leave a like on this video right now, it's all I ask. It's free. It'll take 1 second. It may or may not help the video. I don't even know at this point. If it does, it's very small. It just looks nice, so go ahead and do that. But anyways, right, so, the Errol's, like, turns to the spoiled kid after he says, like, I don't even have to try. I'm just literally a genius. And kind of looks at the kid and is like, hey, bro, like, I really think you're going to want to try on this. Like, this is a really big exam. It matters for quite a bit. Little clarification. They actually had like 4 or 5 days. There's still like a week left of school after the exam. It was kind of just that like closing time period where you don't really do a lot, especially in like middle school. For me, we had time after our exam. In college, it's like your classes end, then you have the exam. But here it's like you had the exam, then you had like kind of a bookkeeping time and just hanging out or whatever. So they still have a bit of class afterwards. That's important for later on in the video. But anyways, Errol goes on to explain, like, dude, like, you're definitely going to want to study for this. Like, this is a pretty big deal. It's gonna be pretty bad if you don't prepare properly. And the spoiled kid doubles down on, like, no, I'm literally just a freaking genius. You guys are idiots. Like, I'm the greatest. You will see. And Errol didn't dislike this kid necessarily, but was also kind of just like, I don't know, man. I'm not doubting you, even though he definitely was. He was kind of just like, I don't know, bro. Like, I really think you should study for this. I just got a feeling that, like, you're going to want to study. And the kid's like, you know what? You guys just don't see it. You don't understand, like, my genius intellect. Like, you guys don't get me. And the thing was, like, Errol wasn't even, like, trying to hate on this kid, even though it was going to be very easy to hate on this kid, especially since he was like, I'm a genius and you guys aren't, and that's the reason why I have to study and you guys don't, or you have to study and I don't. But Errol was like, all right, this kid definitely, like, solved a math problem and was just like, damn, I'm a genius, bro. Anyways, though, the spoiled kid kind of just continues on doing what he's doing. And for the next 2 weeks, Errol and most of his classmates do spend a considerable amount of time preparing for this test. This doesn't mean that they all do as well as they wanted, but they at least all put in a good effort, and the results have at least some correlation to the effort they put in. But let me just give you a little bit of a spoiler. The spoiled kid did not put in any effort over the next 2 weeks. He did not study for a second. He just played on his Xbox all day and kind of just expected that his vastly superior intellect, in quotes, it would just be so strong and so great that it'd be able to guide him to 110% on this exam or whatever, right? Not the case. Anyways, they get into class. It's the day of the exam. Everyone's pretty nervous. And everyone's nervous except the spoiled kid. At least that's the observation Errol makes. And, like, everyone's checking over, like, oh, my God, I only have 6 pencils. What if all 6 of them break? I need a 7th pencil. Someone help. Like, those kind of, like, unnecessary nerves. It's like, you're worried. I mean, necessary. I mean, it's a big exam. You know how that goes. But sure enough, right, they're all standing there, and Errol notices that the only one who isn't super nervous and isn't super freaking out or whatever is the spoiled kid. He is standing there and he has this almost a smug look of confidence on his face. It is like the strangest thing Errol's ever seen because I don't know, he knew that he prepared as well as he could, and he did not have the same level of confidence as the spoiled kid. So part of him started to believe, I mean, maybe the kid actually does have a genius intellect. Maybe this kid is actually like an absolute baller when it comes to tests, and he doesn't even need to study. I mean, very soon you'll figure out that not the case, but anyways, they go into the test, and Errol happens to sit right behind the spoiled kid, and a lot of it's multiple choice, but a lot of it is also free response. And Errol goes through, and he feels like he does pretty good, and he's kind of routinely checking in with the spoiled kid, almost just to see how well he was doing, just to see how much progress. The spoiled kid very quickly finished the first page. So quickly, in fact, that Errol, in a retrospect, like at the time he didn't notice, but with future details, he now has come to the conclusion, and probably the right conclusion, that the spoiled kid just randomly filled in the bubbles. Because he got like the first page done in like 15 seconds, which is almost impossible if you don't randomly fill in the bubbles, right? So they get all that stuff done. Or he gets the first couple pages done. And when it comes to the actual free response written stuff, by the time Errol is done, the spoiled kid is still on the first page of free response with like nothing written down, like little kind of notes. You know, when you're trying to like approach a problem and you just write a little bit and you're like, no, it's not how I approach this. So you write a little bit of something else and you're like, no, I can't do this either. That's basically all the spoiled kid did. And, Errol was able to, Errol left the exam with still like 30 minutes to go because, he looked over his work and he finished. So he's like, well, maybe the spoiled kid picks it up in the second half or whatever. And he has a Hail Mary, like amazing comeback. And, there's still a chance that he'll do pretty well. So they get the weekend, but they get their grades back on Monday. So they all walk into class and they sit down. And the teacher basically hands them a little slip of paper. And on that slip of paper is your grade and also the math class that you'll be in next year. Yeah, sounds a little demeaning. And it's like, oh, you did bad. You're going to be in a poor math class. But the teacher also said, it's partly what you requested because you were able to request which math class you wanted to be in. And he said partly how you did throughout the year and partly how you did on this exam. Because this exam is somewhat a reflection of how you did throughout the year and your overall, are you going to do well in a higher level versus a lower level math class is what it adds up to be, right? So the teacher hands around the paper and, Errol did pretty well and he ended up in a math class that he felt pretty happy with or pretty comfortable with, I don't think he'd be happy if he was in a math class higher than he thought he should be or lower because he wants to be, somewhat challenged. He wants, it's easier with like colleges and stuff or whatever, right? And, he looks around and the spoiled kid, he can't see what's on the spoiled kid's piece of paper because sometimes you're able to like look over, you can kind of get a sense of what's on like someone's, it's not great to do, but, don't lie, man. Like you've definitely like kind of taken a little quick glance around, right? Just like, oh, okay, I'll look over here and, oh, I just happened to see what that person got. Oh no, they did not do well. Now I feel better about myself. We've all been there. It's not a good thing to do, but it happens. But Errol was not able to see what was on this kid's paper because he very quickly flipped over and flipped it back almost immediately. So Errol kind of assumed that he did terrible. And he was like, okay, well, kid didn't study and he just did not do well. Okay, that's fine. That makes a lot of sense. However, at lunch, and remember, this was kind of more of a chill part. Like this was more of a chill couple days because all the exams and tests were done at this point. It was almost like a celebratory week. So they were all at lunch, and the spoiled kid happens to sit down with Errol and some of his friends. And the spoiled kid's like, man, like, Errol, how did you do on that exam? Errol in this position thinks like, oh, well, this kid probably didn't do that well. And, whatever, like, I'll tell him. He's like, yeah, I got an 88 on the exam, which that was pretty good. It was a hard exam, and an 88 is a very solid grade. And the spoiled kid's like, only an 88? Are you serious, bro? You only got an 88? Dude, I got 100%. And Errol in his head is like, there's no way. And the spoiled kid's like, yeah, dude, and guess what? I didn't even study for a second. And you studied probably for hours and hours. And I got 100 and you got an 88. So work smarter, not faster, bro. Which is like a good expression for some things. But this kid definitely just heard it somewhere and was like, I'm going to work smarter because I'm a genius. And this kid's an idiot, so take the L. And Errol was like, oh, okay, bud. Like, that's cool for you. Like, whatever, right? And for the next couple days, this happens in class. This happens like all over the place. The spoiled kid is relentlessly bragging about the fact that he got 100% because of his genius intellect. And he made the mistake to brag about this in front of the teacher that assigned the test, right? He was sitting in a group, and Errol wasn't in this group, but he was in one group like behind them, so he could hear everything that was going on. And the spoiled kid was like, yeah, so I didn't even study for that exam, and I got a 100%. And the guy's like, dude, that's crazy. Like, I didn't do so hot. Like, I got a 70-something. Which, 70-something isn't the greatest grade, but it's not like he failed or something, right? And the spoiled kid's like, dude, I didn't even need to study, and I got 100. And you spent in all this time, and you didn't even get above an 80. Like, oh, my God, bro. Like, it must suck being you. Like, I bet you wish you were me. And the thing was, right, very cruel statement, especially from a kid who did not do as well as he was leading on. Spoilers, spoiled kid did pretty bad. I'm not going to tell you the exact answer until the very end, but The fact that he's not, like, I get it, you feel bad about how you did on the exam, but don't be coming for other people. Like, that's where we draw the line. It's like, okay, you can feel uncomfortable with how you did, but we're drawing the line there, bro. Like, come on now, you can't be doing that. And the teacher overheard this. And Errol didn't really notice these things until retrospect. For example, the kid spamming through the questions, multiple choice, doing them randomly. Errol didn't really notice this until he learned exactly what the kid got as a grade. Also, the teacher noticing that, Errol's like bragging about, or the spoiled kid's bragging about how well he did. The teacher didn't notice this. Errol didn't notice the teacher was noticing this really until after, and he put all the pieces together when the teacher accidentally exposes him, which I'll show you. And okay, I did like air quotes around accidentally, but I just remembered that you guys can't see me, so I did air quotes around the accidental part, as you guys will see in a second. So the teacher's listening to the spoiled kid basically berate this kid for like, you're an idiot, I'm a genius, take the L, Fortnite dance, whatever, right? And the teacher's like, oh, all right, class, well, let's just put on a movie, right? Let's put on something, just have a nice relaxing rest of your day. And the teacher airplays his screen. And when the screen goes up there, it's not the movie on the screen. In fact, it is something else besides the movie. It is a profile of a student. So basically, with their grading software, yes, you can see it in aggregate where you see everyone's grades, but you can also click on an individual student, right? And it'll show like what their average grade is, what math class they're going in, and also how well they did on the final assessment. And you know who the teacher accidentally showed on the screen for like 5 or 10 seconds before fixing it? Oh, yeah, this was an accident, right? He showed the spoiled kid. The spoiled kid's grade was put on the screen. Was this on purpose? The truth is, Errol doesn't really know, but he doesn't think that it was a coincidence. And if it wasn't a coincidence, kind of a savage move by the teacher. Like, I'm not going to lie, a little harsh, but kid kind of did deserve it, right? Kid really did deserve it there. So on the screen, you saw a spoiled kid's name, and you saw what he actually got on the final test. Spoiler, it was not the 100% from his genius intellect that he was telling everyone. In fact, it was a 32%. And look, if you got a 32% on a test before, it feels bad, man. So I'm not coming for you. But I will be coming for you if you go around telling people that you got 100 and that you're a genius and that everyone else is an idiot because they studied and you didn't have to study at all. That's where I draw the line. At that exact very situation, I draw the line. But yeah, so everyone looks like, not everyone sees it, but the kids that were sitting with the spoiled kid, who the spoiled kid was berating, saw it. Errol saw it, and the teacher's like, oh, my fault, and he quickly switches over to, like, Netflix to put on, like, a documentary or something. And the kid, like, Errol just has this big old grin on his face. Not because he wants someone to do poorly, but because he's just like, okay, this kid came for me yesterday because I got a good grade and I studied, but his grade was supposedly better and he didn't study. And he was saying how he was such a genius and I wasn't. And now look at who's the genius now. Neither of us, but especially not him. And the kid in front that, like, didn't do so well and the spoiled kid was berating, literally just, like, turned to the spoiled kid and was like, huh, genius, huh? And the spoiled kid, his face was bright red. He was not responding to the kid in front of him at all. And the kid in front of him was like, oh, no, genius, right? You were talking about how you're a genius and you didn't have to study and how you got 100, and how I'm an idiot. And I studied and even got a 40 or 70 or whatever. The spoiled kid at this point is bright red like a cherry. And he runs out of the classroom and says, I have to go to the bathroom very quickly to the teacher. And sprints out of that classroom. And yeah, it was a little bit of a tough lesson. But bro, at the end of the day, that's a life lesson. Hopefully that kid will remember that for a very long time. A little thing about being humble, and also, if you lie, it can come back to bite you. Like, that's just something that can happen. So yeah, the spoiled kid did not get 100%, and he's not the next Einstein. How's it going, everyone? Hope you're having a good day. Today we have a story of a teacher basically destroying the bully/spoiled kid. Yes, this kid is not just a bully. He isn't just a spoiled kid. He's a spoiled kid/bully combo hybrid. Basically the worst of both worlds. Yes, they actually do exist. and this kid was one of them. But thankfully, the teacher destroys him in front of the entire class, rightfully so. So we're going to call the subscriber who submitted this story Robert. So there's a kid in Robert's class, right? And this kid had been, this kid had been around for a while. He had been a jerk for a while. He had kind of been known as that kid who would just bully people for literally any reason. The bully spoiled kid, who I'm just going to call the bully, just know he's also a spoiled kid, he would literally go after people for doing anything that wasn't something that the bully liked. The bully liked playing football, he liked watching football, he liked fishing, and he also liked driving fast cars. Anything else besides that, you would be bullied by him for doing, right? So anyways, for example, the subscriber Robert, one day he started playing Fortnite before it was super popular. The bully relentlessly went after him. He's like, oh, you're playing that stupid little video game, Fortnite. Only losers play Fortnite. Nobody likes Fortnite. And sure enough, a month later, literally everyone in the class, including the bullies, playing Fortnite. And the funniest thing there is the bully legitimately, he was ragging on other kids for the fact that he was better at Fortnite than them. And that was just kind of ironic because the bully legitimately was just a month ago ragging on Robert for playing Fortnite in the first place, and then legit a month later he's ragging on other kids for not being good at Fortnite, not spending hours playing the game. But the bully would do a lot of stuff like that. He'd literally pick on anyone for any reason that he deemed fit. So no one really liked this kid. And this story all starts in the middle of 7th grade. So Robert was in 7th grade. He had a few classes with the bully. His class size was pretty small, so it was kind of one of those smaller schools where basically everybody knew everybody, and it was almost too personal, right? You couldn't really get away from anyone. So Robert had to spend a decent amount of time with the bully, right? Anyways, middle of the year, this new girl comes in. I think for some reason she transferred middle of the year. Maybe parents had to do a major move kind of quickly. But either way, she came into the school halfway through, which, look, it's hard enough to start at a new school when you don't know anyone and maybe you have no friends there. It's difficult enough to do that. But it's extra difficult to have to transfer in midway through the year. Because at least in the beginning of the year, there's a little bit of a fresh start. Sure, there's a lot of friendships that carried over, but this is especially hard to start it's dead in the middle, right? So this girl comes, and we're going to call her Claire. And she was very pretty. She was objectively very pretty. So because of that, she didn't really have a lot of friends right away because most of the guys were kind of interested in her, and most of the girls hated her because she was kind of pretty, and they felt threatened with the guys that they had. So it was a tough spot for Claire. Anyways, they were all sitting at lunch one day, and this was about a week after Claire was in school. Claire sat with 2 other girls, but not very popular by any means, which, oh no, you're not popular in high school. Might as well just give up on everything now. Because yeah, high school popularity really does translate to success in life. Not. Just want to make that clear, I'm being sarcastic. But anyways, right, sure enough, Robert is sitting down with his friends, and the bully sits down at the table. And Robert, because the thing is, all the guys were kind of friends with each other. No guys had blatant beef or anything. So the bully would sit down with random groups of guys that he would bully. He's been bullying these guys for years. He was a jerk. No one really liked him. But it was too small of a school for anyone to really stand up and be like, I don't like this kid. I'm coming in to say it now. I don't like him. No one really had the balls to do that. And it also would have been really awkward socially. So the bully sat down. He's like, boys, you know that new girl, Claire? And they were like, yeah. And they're like, dude, I totally got with her last night. And they're all some of the guys were they were friendly enough with him that they were like, oh, congrats, bro. Trying to go over and dap him up or something. Be like, dude, that's sick. Good work. And, for some reason, Robert, the subscriber, he just felt, it was just suspicious, right? He was like, bully, sure, he's confident, but I just have a feeling something's off, right? So sure enough, Robert says, oh, good work, man, good stuff, bro. And the bully's like, sorry, guys, she's officially off the market right now. She's totally up, with me or whatever. And Robert was a little bit upset about that, simply just because he kind of was, wanting to talk to her or whatever, because she was the new, beautiful girl who came into school or whatever. But whatever, Robert's not going to take it too personally. And if the truth is the bully really did get her fair and square, like, what is he going to do about it? Like, what is he going to do about it? But for some reason, Robert just had a gut feeling. And this is just another example of just trust your gut sometimes, as it probably can tell you something. Like, just social situations, it can sometimes pick up stuff that your conscious brain isn't picking up, but your subconscious brain is picking up, right? It's kind of like a signal from your subconscious to your conscious. He just knew that something was a little bit off, even if he didn't know exactly what. So anyways, Robert was actually friends with one of the two girls that Claire would always hang out with. These two girls were pretty cool. They didn't really care about stupid high school stuff. They didn't care about like, oh, what's the social hierarchy in the 7th grade? Because they had enough perspective to realize that it was stupid and it didn't matter. So Robert was good friends with them. And they also were friends with Claire because they saw pretty blatantly, people are not being friends with her because they either want to fall in love with her or they hate her because all the guys are trying to fall in love with her. And they're like, that's so ridiculous, that's stupid. And Claire turned out to be a pretty cool girl, right? And so Robert decided that he wanted to kind of figure out if the bully was telling the truth or not. So Robert that day, finds one of Claire's two friends, the one that is also friends with him, is like, hey, like, Mabel, how we doing? And she's like, oh, like, Robert, it's been a second, how you doing? He's like, hey, so I just heard something. And if you can't say anything, that's fine. But I was trying to confirm this with you. He's like, so, Claire, the new girl, and Mabel's like, Robert, do not use me to get to my friend. And Robert's like, no. In the back of Robert's head, he's like, dang, I can't ask her later on now, but whatever. He's like, no. I heard something. And she's like, what did you hear? Because she's like curious. She wants to make sure that her friend isn't being, treated, like, talked about poorly or whatever. And he's like, oh, well, the bully. And she's like, yeah, what about him? And he's like, well, he told all of us that he got with Claire last night. And Mabel looks at Robert with this look of like, what? And she's like, okay, well, she didn't say anything about it. Maybe she's being shy. I'll figure that out for you, Robert. I'll get back to you. Next day comes around, Mabel comes up to Robert and is like, total lie, never happened. And he's like, what? She's like, yeah, I kind of like discreetly asked Mabel, oh, what do you think of the bully? And she's like, I don't know, kind of seems like a jerk. And then I decided to just blatantly say, so he's been telling people he got with you. And she got really like, she was like, what? She just seemed really confused and she denied it, so I kind of believe her. So at this point, Robert's like, okay, this kid didn't do anything, right? So they sit down at lunch and the bully sits down again. And the bully starts making up another story about how they went on a first date last night. And Robert's like, pulls him aside, the bully. I don't know why Robert didn't want to expose him in front of everyone. I think it's because they were still on good social terms that he didn't want to be that guy, right? He didn't want to be that guy to expose him in front of everyone. But basically, he pulled him aside and said, hey, man, so he's like, I don't know how to say this, but I was just talking with one of Kate's friends, being like, or Claire's friends, sorry. I was talking to one of Claire's friends, saying it's really cool that my friend is getting with your friend. Robert was trying to phrase it like he was talking to Mabel, asking about, the bully and Claire, not because he was like trying to figure out if he's lying. He was trying to frame it like he was casually starting a conversation with Mabel, being like, oh, my friend, not really, but my friend, the bully, is getting with your friend. And he's like, well, it doesn't seem like she sees the same thing. And the bully's like, okay, dude, I'll tell you the truth. So the bully like kind of pulls him aside. He's like, look, man, I need you to keep this secret from me. And Robert kind of looks at him like, you've been a jerk to me my entire life, but sure, I'll hear you out. And he kind of looks at him, and the bully says, look, trust me, bro. Give me a couple days. Claire will be mine. I'm telling you. But here's the thing. I need people to think that she's off the market so that I got a clear shot to get with her. And at this point, Robert's like, well, it's probably going to be more counterproductive if you tell people you already got with her, but okay. He's like, I know. It was dumb or whatever. But everyone thinks that, so now I just need to make it a reality. And Robert's like, okay, man, like, I'm not going to tell anyone else, I promise. And Robert genuinely just wasn't going to tell anyone else. But he also said, like, look, Mabel thinks, like, kind of knows what you said, so if word gets out it wasn't me, I can tell her to kind of chill out a little bit, though. And the bully's like, yes, please, talk to her. Try and knock it out, because that'd be awkward. And, like, Robert's looking at him like, that was the dumbest plan ever, bro. Like, that was so stupid. So yeah, at this point, guys, the bully is extremely desperate to pull Claire in the next couple days. Because there's a ticking time bomb. Because eventually, people will notice if he doesn't start getting with Claire, people are going to start noticing the discrepancy between what the bully says and what actual reality is. So, the bully is now under a lot of pressure to do things quickly. And when he's under pressure, he's about to mess up bad. And he's about to mess up in front of his teacher, and the teacher's about to absolutely wreck him. Real quick, if you've made it this far into the video, comment bully down below. I'll try to heart some comments to say that. Subscribe if you're new, trying to hit 1 million subscribers, and leave a like on the video to claim your free nothing, as always, guys. Anyways, let's get back into it. So sure enough, in class, because there is one class that Robert, the bully, and Claire all have together, the bully goes up to Claire, sits right next to her. He's like trying to talk to her all nice in class, right? He's like, hey, like, my name's Robert. So nice to meet you. Oh man, what a nice dress you have on today. Wow, really matches your eyes. And Claire, who kind of knows a thing or two about what's going on, is like, okay. And the thing is, Robert is sitting close enough that he can hear and see all this going down. But they're all sitting pretty close to the front row. So Claire's a little uncomfortable, not just because it's like the kid she doesn't like talking her up, but also because he's whispering this all to her in class. The teacher is trying to teach a lesson, right? And she doesn't want to be on the teacher's bad side within like 3 days, right? She doesn't want to be on the bad side within like 3 days of being in this school, because that wouldn't be great. So sure enough, right? You know, she's just kind of sitting there. The spoiled bully's like, yeah, look, I just wanted to say, like, you're really cool. I've had a great conversation with you. She kind of turns to him and is like, okay. This was a great conversation of you saying I had a nice dress and nice eyes. I'm glad you think that I'm a great person from me nodding my head and smiling to you. You're definitely not looking at me physically and assuming that's one thing. If I have to give the gents and the ladies and anyone else, right, in the comment section, a little bit of advice. If you find someone attractive, you are probably going to make up a person that doesn't exist. If you don't talk to them, you've only talked to them a few times and you see them or whatever. You know, I do this way too often, and it leads to my own downfall. So this is almost a memoir this is a personal note to myself and to you guys as well. If you see someone, you find them attractive, and you don't talk to them enough to really know who they are, you are going to construct this incredible person. You're going to construct this person who is a perfect match for you. That is very likely not reality. So please remind yourself of this before you throw yourself off a cliff just for this person, right? Just a little, it'll help you out. And I'm saying this out loud to help me out. But anyways, the spoiled kid the bully is like trying to talk to her more and more in class. Because you have to remember at this point, the bully wants to maintain the illusion that he's talking to her up to the point where he is actually with her. Because he's already told everyone that he's with her, right? So like some kids in the class were looking at him being like, hey, my boy, talking up his new girlfriend or whatever. When in reality, he wasn't talking up his new girlfriend. He barely knew this girl. And she was most definitely not going to be his girlfriend. So at this point, the spoiled kid is getting a little desperate. It's towards the end of class. So at this point, the bully, he's getting to a point where he's getting a little bit desperate. So he's going to play the card that makes him look a little bit like a jerk, but he thinks it'll be just enough to get this girl to go on a date with him. So the bully, right, he's just kind of like, he goes up, he is towards the end of class, he leans in, and he whispers to her, like, hey, like, I could take, like, just so you know, my dad lets me use his cars.
Pugs, the boogeyman's gonna get you.
No, not the boogeyman. No. Anyways, guys, sorry for that interruption. Hopefully the boogeyman does not eat me. But sure enough, he leans over to her. And he's like, hey, like, my dad lets me use his car.
It's not a joke.
It's not a joke, bro. Anyways, so like, he's like, yeah, my dad lets me use his cars. He's got a really sick, like, Mercedes or whatever. Like, it can go 0 to 100 super fast or whatever. Look, you and I should totally go on a drive this weekend. Like, look, it's Thursday now. I pick you up Friday after school. I drive you around the place. Remember, bro's in 7th grade. But I don't know, he was just going to break the law or something. I'll drive you around, which probably meant Dad will drive us around. look, you'll be in a sick whip. Everyone's going to see you in the sick whip. They're going to think that you're super sick. Then you and I can go on a date to a super awesome restaurant. It's like you can buy whatever you want. The food's super good. So basically at this point, the spoiled kid / bully is basically saying, you should go on a date with me. Not necessarily because you want to go on a date with me, but because my dad will give us a super fancy, expensive, epic car or whatever. And, and then he'll also pay for our dinner at a super expensive, fancy dinner place, right? He's basically just trying to bribe this kid, or bribe her into quote unquote dating him, even though it's really just to get a good steak dinner out of it and a good ride around in a cool car. And Claire was not about to fall for this. So she looks at him, and she is very nice about this. And the thing is, right, that just a little detail. Apparently the teacher had been hearing all of this, and he just kind of let it happen because he didn't want to embarrass Claire in front of everyone. But Claire very nicely whispers back, sorry, I'm busy on the weekend. Also, I really don't think I want to be dating anyone since I'm so new here. Let's just start out at friends. Which I think is a pretty good response. I mean, first of all, you don't owe this kid anything, right? But it makes a lot of sense that you might not want to jump headfirst into a relationship when you're only 5 days into this new town, this new life, this new everything, this new school, right? And also, she says, let's start off as friends. That is I know she did reject him and she has no intention of it, but that is the nicest rejection you can get. She wasn't mean, she was cool about it, and she just said, as a general rule, I don't want to date anyone. However, this completely burst the bubble of the spoiled kid's imaginary world that he told everyone about. Because remember, he told everyone that he was dating this girl, that this was his girlfriend, that they were in love with each other or whatever, right? So the fact that even though she said nicely, just the fact that she said no completely destroyed this fictional reality that he built for himself. So the spoiled kid couldn't handle the potential or the upcoming humiliation when the two worlds, the imaginary one that he created and the one that they live in, start to intersect and people realize that there's a difference between what he says and what actually happens. The spoiled kid can't handle the potential future humiliation, so he says to her, well, I don't want to go out with you anyways because you're ugly. And he sits back down. This girl was very clearly not ugly. And Claire took this in strides, right? At the end of the day, this guy asked her out purely based on what she looked like. Let's be real. He had no conversation with her. And then when she says no, he calls her ugly. Very clearly, he doesn't believe that. However, the teacher hears this. And he turns to the spoiled kid and says, can I see you after class? And the spoiled kid's like, no, because the spoiled kid he's basically having a mental breakdown at this point. He's like, oh my God, I'm going to be humiliated. I'm going to lose all my social credit points for the high school popularity rank or whatever, right? Something stupid like that. And sure enough, the teacher's like, well, fine then. Don't be calling anyone ugly just because they reject you because you're a spoiled brat. Boom! Whole class hears this. Everyone turns their head. Everyone's like, oh my God, the teacher just went in on this kid. And the bully guy, the spoiled brat bully guy, is looking at the teacher slack-jawed. This teacher had no chill in the situation, but he was a very calm and collected individual that never lashed out like that. And then the teacher legitimately turns to the class and says, okay, class, homework today is going to be chapter 48, problems 4. Then he goes on the board, he goes back to class. He goes on like nothing happened. He just keeps striding, bro. This teacher's an absolute savage. He just went in and wrecked this kid in front of everyone. The bully is just frozen, sitting in a seat. The bell rings. Everybody gets up. All the kids are passing by him, the kids now, 1, they know that the bully is not dating Claire. So boom, explosion. 2, not only do they know that, which they were going to learn eventually, they also saw him get roasted by the teacher.
From a teacher exposing a spoiled brat in front of his crush to a rich kid getting a good life lesson from the teacher, these are some stories of teachers humiliating spoiled rich kids. And one of these spoiled rich kids actually threatened the teacher and it got super intense. So there's a rich kid in the subscribers class, and just because you're rich doesn't mean that you're a bad person or that people don't like you, but this kid was obnoxious. This kid was annoying. And anyways, this story all started one day when this kid was in class and he was telling a little story about what happened that weekend before. So basically, the kid was in class and he was just all like, hey guys, like, it was my birthday recently and I received a new car. And everyone, remember, this is like, I don't know, sophomore year of high school. So barely anyone had a car. And especially if they were going to have a car, it wouldn't be a car like the spoiled rich kid was going to have. We also know that the spoiled rich kid's car would look like this, and not like any other car that any of us would receive. But anyways, the story isn't just the fact that the spoiled rich kid received a super expensive fancy car for his birthday, even though that's really crazy. The story that the spoiled kid was telling the entire class was he said, hey man, like, I got this car, it was super expensive, and guess what, guys, like, you won't even believe it, but I was like, you know what, Dad, this car isn't expensive enough for me, so I got in the car, I hopped in my whip, I drove down the street, and I intentionally totaled the car. The entire class is just completely shocked at this point. They're completely just... The class, the teacher, and everybody is looking at the spoiled rich kid to see if he's just joking, to see if he's, just clowning around. But the spoiled rich kid had a extremely serious expression on his face. And that's when people realized this kid wasn't joking. This kid wasn't messing around. The spoiled rich kid actually crashed his super expensive Lambo, Tesla, whatever type car just because it wasn't expensive enough. He wanted the Bugatti, man. He wanted to be top G. So at this point, the teacher was having enough of this kid. Because if you guys didn't realize, the teacher was listening in on the entire story. The teacher heard all of it. So the teacher actually budges into the conversation, because this was a conversation between the spoiled kid and his classmates. But the teacher decides that it's time for them to jump into this. And the teacher goes in and basically says to the spoiled kid in front of everyone, humiliating him in front of the entire class, the teacher tells him that, he needs to be more respectful of, what his parents give him. He needs to understand that it's his parents' gift to him. It's not like anything he's worked for. And then he needs to understand that money doesn't grow on trees. You guys might be thinking that, the spoiled kid is having a massive temper tantrum right now. He's having a meltdown. He just got owned by the teacher. No, the spoiled kid decides to fight back. So the spoiled kid looks at the teacher and is like, you're just jealous that you don't have my Lambo supercar. And the teacher looks back at him and says, you know what? Maybe I'm a little jealous. The whole class kind of goes shocked for a second because the teacher just admitted maybe that they were a little bit jealous, but the teacher wasn't admitting defeat here. The teacher says, maybe I am a little bit jealous, but you know what I'm not? You know what I'm not jealous of? You. Because I know for a fact that you're not a happy individual. I know for a fact that you're not a content individual because you did not work for the things that you have. You did not work for the spoils of your labor, the fruits of your labor. You did not collect the spoils from anything that you did. You just exist, therefore you receive. And bro, the kid and the spoiled kid in front of the entire class, just, he almost has this epiphany that what the teacher is saying is actually correct. It's like the spoiled kid realized that everything in his entire life had just been given to him because he was in a rich family, not because he deserved it. And at that point, the spoiled kid gets up and is like, I need to go to the bathroom, and runs out of the class. So let me know in the comment section down below if you think that the spoiled kid, that the teacher went too hard on the spoiled kid here, or if he basically got what he deserved. The spoiled kid in this story might have been pretty spoiled, but at least this spoiled brat wasn't as bad as this one. So this all happened one day in class, and there was a spoiled rich kid, and this kid didn't just come from a very standard rich kid family. There's definitely a rich kid, who his parents maybe make, maybe top 5%, maybe top 10%. So they were definitely rich kid parents, maybe a successful lawyer, banker, whatever. This kid was the rich kid
if he was in a group of rich kids, right? This kid had his parents made money out of their butts, bro. It legitimately grew on trees for them. I don't know what their parents did. I have no idea, but they were like superstars at whatever they did. And the thing is, the fact that his parents made that much money unfortunately went straight to this kid's head, and it gave him a pretty inflated ego. And this all started one day in class. It was the very last day before summer vacation, right? It was the last day of class in 8th grade. They were going to be graduating onto high school. They were about to go to summer for summer vacation. Vibes were really good in the school. Things were seeming really nice. However, the spoiled kid just had to be the one to mess it up. So the teacher decided, just for a fun last day activity, because the teacher really had nothing else planned, as it was the last day of school. It's not like she can be like, okay, now we're going to learn calculus in the next 30 minutes. I know you guys can do it. No, so she just decided that she was going to have a kind of a nothing, not a nothing activity, but a very light, easy, fun activity. So she decided that she was going to go around and ask everyone in the class what they did, what they were going to do over the summer, what their plans were, and if they didn't have that many plans, what they wanted to do. Very nice, easy activity. It made a lot of sense because they didn't need to really focus in on anything else hard right now, so sure, might as well go for it. So sure enough, the teacher says, all right, class, so I'm going to ask you guys to go around one by one, and say what you're doing over the summer. So Jimmy over here says that, he's going to be working at the ice cream shop, and Sally over there says she's going to be going to sleepaway camp, a sleepaway camp she's been going to for her entire life. But eventually you get to the spoiled kid. Yep, the spoiled kid. Play ominous music. You already know this is going downhill. So sure enough, right, the spoiled kid goes on a 10-minute tirade. And remember, people had been answering this question in the span of like 30 seconds to 2 minutes at a maximum. This kid goes on for 10 whole minutes, detailing every detail of his super expensive, exquisite, super intense vacation that no one has ever heard of. Basically, this kid was saying, well, first of all, I'm going to go to the south of France, and then I'm going to go to Monaco, and then I'm going to go to Germany, and then and just going to list off every European country. And he also, don't get it wrong, right? The kid makes sure to let you know every location he's going to, every hotel he's going to, every fun event he has planned. And then he also says how much each of these events costs. I'm not even kidding you. This kid legitimately is telling everyone, oh, this is going to cost me. Okay, bro, I know who you're talking about. You mean your parents. This is going to cost us, aka his parents, X number of dollars per night. And by the end of it, right, he's basically totaled like $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 for a vacation, bro. That's crazy. And he's just like, by the end of it, 10 minutes, remember, 10 whole minutes go by. And that's when the spoiled kid is done talking about all the crazy things. I'm going to spend all this money, whatever, right? I'm going to go on the craziest vacation ever. And first of all, by the end of it, half the class is just shocked by how much money he's spending. The other class doesn't even know how much money he's spending because they were so bored 2 minutes into it that they literally fell asleep. So you guys might be thinking, okay, well, that's pretty bad, Connor. And that's definitely more spoiled than the last guy. But it can't be getting more spoiled. No, you're incorrect. The spoiled kid gets even more spoiled. I'm not even kidding. Because here's the thing. If the spoiled kid was just going on and on about how crazy of a vacation he was going to have, maybe I'd give him a pass. But I know for a fact I'm not giving him a pass for what he's about to say. So eventually he finishes after about 10 minutes about talking about this super crazy, this vacation is going to go on. And the teacher's like, okay, spoiled kid, thanks for sharing, I guess. And then, the teacher's like, all right, Gerald or whoever's next to him, it's time for you to go. So Gerald starts talking about what he's going to do on vacation. And it's nothing too extravagant. Not even just compared to what the spoiled kid is doing. He's mostly just going to stay home, spend time with family, maybe get a summer job, walk his dog. Really just a very nice, relaxing, normal person summer. And the spoiled kid turns over to someone next to him and whispers, Is this what poor people do over the summer? And this kid, the spoiled kid, intentionally whispered it extremely loud. You know those people, when they whisper, they talk in the hushed voice like this, but they say it really loud. That's basically what the spoiled kid did here. So very clearly, he wanted people to hear that he was pretending to whisper that, he thought that this is what poor people did. I don't know why, but he wanted that. He just wanted people to know he was a jerk, I guess. Bro, don't ask me. I'm not the spoiled kid here. But the thing is, the teacher heard this, and the teacher was already kind of, I don't know. I don't know if the teacher was annoyed or just thought it was not the right place for the spoiled kid to talk about his vacation in the way that he did. So he already wasn't really liking the spoiled kid at this point. And then when he heard the spoiled kid say something as egregious as that, the teacher knew that he couldn't just stay silent. The teacher knew that he needed to own this kid, just, for the kid's own sake, for the spoiled kid's sake. The teacher goes on to say, spoiled kid, what did you just say about Gerald's vacation? And the spoiled kid's like, I didn't say anything, man. And, one of the classmates low-key snitched him out and was like, no, spoiled kid did say something. And spoiled kid's like, dude, shut up. It was very clear the spoiled kid wanted people to hear him, but I don't think it was clear that the spoiled kid actually wanted a confrontation, which is what he was getting. So sure enough, the spoiled kid's like, I didn't say anything, dude. You're overreacting. And that's when the teacher goes on to say, spoiled kid, can you stand up to the front of the class, please? And the spoiled kid has this shocked look on his expression. And everyone else in the class was shocked as well, because what was the teacher going to ask him to do, standing up in front of the entire class? Well, the teacher was about to go crazy, bro. So the teacher was like, spoiled kid, why did you make that comment about Gerald's vacation? And the spoiled kid's like, I don't know what you're talking about. And the teacher's like, spoiled kid, why did you make those comments about Gerald's vacation? The teacher was not going to let the spoiled kid off the line. He's not going to let him off for this one. This time, the teacher is going in. And Gerald's a little embarrassed because he doesn't want everyone to know that the spoiled kid said, oh, you have a poor person vacation. He's not trying to get everyone to hear that. But at the end of the day, he's respecting what the teacher's doing. Because the teacher goes on to say, spoiled kid, do you believe that you're entitled to such a vacation? And the spoiled kid's like, what? And the teacher's like, spoiled kid, what if I was to call your parents right now in front of everyone and tell them what you said? At this point, everyone in the class realized that, yo, this teacher doesn't mess around, bro. This teacher's going in hard. And the spoiled kid starts to tear up a little bit. He's like, teacher, I didn't mean to say that. I'm so sorry. But the teacher had legitimately no mercy. The teacher calls up his parents, his mom picks up, and it's on speakerphone. So she's like, hello? And the teacher's like, yes, I'm just calling about your son. And she's like, oh, is my son okay? And the teacher's like, yes, but no. Your son said something to another student that is really just not acceptable. And the mom's like, oh my God, what did he say? And, at this point, the spoiled kid is crying in front of the entire class right now. It's super embarrassing for him. The entire class is watching him as he's getting completely wrecked by the teacher. But sure enough, the teacher goes on to say, oh, so he was explaining, the summer plans he had for this summer with everyone, as I instructed him to do. But when a fellow classmate of his explained his stories or his plans for the summer, your son said that what he was doing was what a poor person would do, because it was not what he was doing. And there was a bit of a silence on the phone, because you could tell that the mom of the spoiled kid was very much taken aback by what her son said, right? And the mom's like, I'm so sorry. Tell my son to apologize right now. I'm going to have a meeting with him when he gets back, and his vacation might be looking a little bit different. Thank you for letting me know. And at this point, the spoiled kid is just having a massive meltdown in front of the entire class, and everyone's just looking at him awkwardly like, okay, this is really unfortunate. And the teacher's like, all right, spoiled kid, you can sit back down. And I don't know if this humiliation was a little bit too crazy. Please let me know in the comment section if you think this one was too extreme or not. But at least this spoiled brat was not as bad as this final one. I know it's hard to believe, but at least he wasn't as bad as this one. So anyways, this spoiled kid, everyone knew as the super rich spoiled kid, right? He had been gone from class for an entire month. This kid was on vacation to like Mykonos or the Cayman Islands or super fancy resort or just going on like a crazy expensive rich kid vacation when everyone else in class, it was like the middle of winter. They were just getting there in the cold, early in the morning, getting to class, doing their work, studying their like, I don't know, their algebra 2 or whatever they were taking. Everyone was working hard while the rich kid was out there partying, having a fun time, relaxing, enjoying a life that they never could. And the thing is, right, he's gone for a month, and he doesn't tell anyone at the school that he's gone for a month. And at a minimum, he doesn't tell the teacher of this class that he's gone for a month. So one day, one random day, it's not a random day, it is the day before a massive exam that they're taking in this class. So the teacher is doing a review day or a kind of review session type day, right? And the teacher is going on to be like, all right, class, so this is like what you need to know. This is what you need to be prepared for. And all of a sudden, 10 minutes into class, so it's already late if you're to come now. The spoiled kid, who's been gone for an entire month, joins the class. The entire class is pretty shocked at this point. They look over, they look at the spoiled kid with this look of shocked expression of like, you still go here? What? But sure enough, the spoiled rich kid comes in and he's like, oh, like, what's up, guys? Been a second, right? And the teacher's like, you still attend this class? What? And so sure enough, the spoiled kid just comes in, he sits down and pretends like nothing is happening. And so the teacher decides, okay, whatever. Well, I'm just going to keep teaching class as if nothing happened either. So the teacher starts talking about how they have a massive exam tomorrow. And that's when the spoiled kid raises his hand, which, what's the spoiled kid doing raising his hand, bro? Like, I don't get that. Like, he's been gone for so long. But anyways, the spoiled kid raises his hand. And sure enough, the teacher's like, yes. And the teacher says yes with a bit of like confusion because what's the spoiled kid doing raising his hand right now? And the spoiled kid's like, teacher, like I clearly don't have to take this exam, right? I mean, I should get a 2 to 3 week extension because I've been gone for so long. And the thing is, right, if this kid was gone for like medical leave or a family issue, or at least told the school/teacher about this, I would have some sympathy if the teacher didn't give him an extension. However, the spoiled kid didn't tell anyone, and the reason he was gone is because he was too busy partying and doing insanely rich kid things to take the test or not to take the test, to be in school. And he just shows up one day, the day before the exam, expecting that he's going to get no. That's not happening. And the teacher agreed with me. It's not happening. And the teacher tells him, no, like you're taking the exam like everyone else, like tomorrow. Like you didn't tell anyone about the fact that you were gone for so long. Why do you expect an extension? And the spoiled kid looks at the teacher and is like, very funny. Now where's my extension? As if he was entitled to something. As if he deserved to get an extension just because, oh, I deserve everything. Because if I want something, I will get it. Which is just pretty crazy in my opinion. But anyways, the teacher holds down, says, no, I'm not joking. You're not getting anything. And that's when the spoiled kid, who's also super entitled and thinks that he's like some massive karate expert as well for some reason, even though he is not that athletic, if we're being real, stands up, is like, you don't want this smoke, bro. Bro, whenever some sophomore in high school that's looking all dweeby and dorky says, you don't want this smoke, it is the most ridiculous thing. And the teacher is looking at this kid and says to him, did you just threaten me? Did you just threaten the kid's like, oh, you don't want the smoke, bro? That's what I'm saying. You didn't want the smoke and you're going to get it if you don't give me an extension. And the whole class is looking at this kid like, this kid cannot be serious right now. And the kid's like, dude, you don't want the smoke. You don't want the smoke. And the teacher's like, I'm not giving you an extension. You're taking the final exam like everyone else is tomorrow. And the kid's like, it's just not happening. Like, you're crazy for that. And the teacher's like, I'm the crazy one here? So the spoiled kid, gets right up in the teacher's face. And the thing is, this teacher is not some small little dainty teacher that needs protecting. The funny thing is, if anyone, the spoiled kid is the small, dainty one who needs protecting. This teacher is like ex-military, ex-Marines, math teacher who gets up at 6 in the morning and eats nails for breakfast. This teacher is not one that is meant to be messed with. But the spoiled kid apparently doesn't get the memo on this. This is because the spoiled kid is like, I'm going to give you one chance to change your mind. And the teacher is just staring him down as the entire class watches on. And the spoiled kid's like, you have one shot to change your mind, or you're going to be in a world of pain. And the teacher says, bring it on, buddy. And the tension in this room, you could just cut with a knife at this point. It is this extreme. So sure enough, the spoiled kid, who believes that he is some kind of like godly entity that can destroy, who deserves everything and can destroy anyone, goes to punch the teacher in the face. He thinks that the best case scenario here, the best choice for him, is to punch the teacher in his actual face. But this teacher is an absolute savage. This is an ex-military guy. You don't want to mess with him. He legitimately catches this kid's wrist mid-punch. The kid is swinging on him, and instead of like dodging or blocking it, he grabs onto his wrist. At this point, the entire class watches as the kid, the spoiled kid, has his wrist, like his fist, fully extended an inch away from the teacher's face. But his fist is frozen in midair because the teacher has latched on to this kid's wrist. And at this point, the teacher, the kids in the class legitimately say that the teacher, for a split second, had this smirk on his face. He had this little smile on his face. Because within a split second later, the teacher gets this kid on the ground. He does some crazy like martial arts maneuver, flips the kid around, and pins him on the ground. And says, "One of you guys get the security." So a kid in the class, obviously gets up, leaves, gets the security officer comes down, gets the spoiled kid. The teacher explains quickly that the kid tried to swing on him.
How's it going, everyone? I hope you're having a great day, because today we have 3 stories of spoiled kids getting owned by the teacher. All of them are great, and I know you will enjoy them. So sit back, relax, subscribe to the channel if you are new, and let's get into the first story, where we're going to call the subscriber Finn. By the way, if you want to submit stories, submit them to my Twitter account at ConnorPugs. It's in the description. With that being said, let's just jump right into it. So anyways, Finn is a college student. And he's currently in a college math class. And in this college math class, there's a kid who's kind of just like known as a kid who's pretty spoiled, like one of those kind of like entitled kids. And I don't mean someone who necessarily, has like really rich parents or something like that, or, has more things provided for them so that they're like a little bit inconsiderate, they're a little bit arrogant, because they're definitely people that, just don't know any better. Like they'll just kind of assume certain things are like the normal for other people, but it's not. And I don't really consider those people like spoiled brats or whatever. That's just like, I don't know. That's obviously it's not the greatest thing. It's better to be aware of your surroundings. But when I mean spoiled kid, I mean like comes in, flexes his double wrists and iced out Rolexes, like drops his Amex black card on the table. Is like, oh yeah, I'm self-made, when he literally has never worked a job in his life. But anyways, so this kid, we're just going to call him the spoiled kid. And there was a pretty big test in the math class. And there was basically 2 major tests for this college semester. And the grade was basically 50% the first test, 50% the second test. It was a brutal way to grade the class. But it was also somewhat easy in a sense, because if you just studied for the first test, or if you just studied really well for these 2 assignments, you got 100 in the course. You didn't have to show up any of the days at all, except the days of the test if you really wanted to, but it's really hard if you're struggling the subject. Anyways, so about halfway through the semester, it is the first test. It's the first assessment. And Finn is sitting in this college class. He's been studying for weeks at this point, and he's really nervous. I mean, I could totally understand where he's coming from. I would be personally terrified myself. And so in walks the spoiled kid. And the spoiled kid just kind of has this attitude to him. He's just like super confident, super just full of himself. And you could kind of tell, right? So the spoiled kid sits right in front of Finn. And so the teacher passes around the test, is like, all right, you guys have 2 hours to finish this.
You may finish early. In fact, I expect almost all of you to finish this before the 2 hours. I give about 1 hour worth of material, so if it takes you, it should not take you more than 2 hours, and everyone may begin. And sure enough, everyone whips out, starts writing down. Finn is kind of nervous because he's feeling okay about the test, but I don't know if you guys have taken a math test before, and you're going through it, and you're like, yeah, I think I got the right answer. The worst thing is when you think you got the right answer, you don't know you got the right answer. Like, you get an answer, and it's, not a super clean number, comes out as a bunch of decimal points, and you're like, okay, that doesn't seem good. But who knows? But the thing was, Finn looked in front of him, and the spoiled kid was sitting there. And the spoiled kid was sitting there, and, he had his backpack. And his backpack, the spoiled kid began to reach into his backpack. Finn, being easily distracted, started paying attention to the spoiled kid. And he looks as the spoiled kid reaches into the backpack and kind of just assumes that, oh, okay, whatever, right? The spoiled kid is just reaching in for a pencil, maybe an eraser, maybe a piece of scratch paper, which would have been a little sus, but whatever. But instead, the spoiled kid reaches into his backpack and grabs an iPad. Not his phone, not like something small, a full-on iPad. Not an iPad mini, a full iPad, right? And he takes out the iPad and he puts it on his lap. To be fair, it was a somewhat discreet position. It was not super obvious that there was an iPad on his lap. But the spoiled kid opens up the iPad and literally goes to Safari, the Google search engine on iPads. And he opens it up. And he starts typing. He goes to he starts typing in the questions into Google and just getting the answers. Sometimes he has to literally search through message boards like Reddit or I don't know. Okay, they wouldn't use Stack Overflow. It's a math class. But he'd be searching through stuff like, I don't know, Reddit, Wolfram Alpha, all these sites or whatever. And he was finding the answers every single time. And at this point, right, Finn was looking at him. He's like, this kid's crazy. Dude's gonna get caught. There's not a chance that dude doesn't get caught. Are you kidding me? You can't be, you cannot be serious here. And sure enough, right, the spoiled kid is, he's, just going along, just going through writing down his answers. And Finn is kind of distracted now, is watching as the math teacher, who is at the front of the class, just kind of grading stuff, gets up to just casually walk around. Because I don't know about you, but when I have tests, sometimes the teacher just decides to stroll around. Sometimes the teacher wants to see, what other people are doing and how they're doing. And just making sure that they're not blatantly cheating like the spoiled kid is here. So Finn quickly puts his eyes back on his own paper because he doesn't want to be accused of looking at the spoiled kid's work or anything. But he can't concentrate right now because he knows for a fact that the spoiled kid is about to be outed as a big old cheater, right? And so sure enough, the teacher walks around. And the thing is, the teacher is kind of doing a snake pattern throughout the desks. So instead of instead of approaching the spoiled kid front on, he approaches the spoiled kid from the back, which maybe if the teacher started one row earlier and he would have ended up approaching the spoiled kid from the front, the spoiled kid would have noticed that someone was approaching him and he would have either turned off the iPad or at least stopped using it actively. But unfortunately for the spoiled kid, the teacher was approaching from behind. And as the teacher got closer and closer, the teacher ended up passing by Finn and stopping right next to Finn's desk. Not, of course, to look at what Finn was doing, but to observe the spoiled kid who was sitting one desk ahead of Finn. The spoiled kid was very clearly going on his iPad, typing on it, scrolling through to find answers, and then writing on his test. And the teacher's under his breath, he's like, "Spoiled kid, what are you doing?" Obviously says the actual name of the spoiled kid, but it's "Spoiled kid, are you cheating?" And the spoiled kid's looks up, turns around, shuts off the iPad, and is "No, I'm not cheating." And, the teacher's "Well, what were you doing with that iPad?" And the spoiled kid's "Well, I just had it out." And, the teacher's I'm sorry, but even if you just have your, I made it very clear in the beginning of class, you cannot have any sort of device out. Even if you weren't cheating, we would have no way to know if you were or weren't, and we just have to assume you are. The spoiled kid's Well, I'm just going to finish this test. Like, I mean, you can take this iPad if you want. It was just lying around. And the thing was, like, Finn knew that the teacher was watching the spoiled kid cheating on the iPad actively. It's not like, I don't know, the spoiled kid forgot to put the iPad away and it just happened to be out. It was on and he was using it. And then he just like turns it off as soon as the teacher asks him what he's doing. And the teacher's like, no, I can't do that. Like, I need to take your test now. I'm sorry. I have to mark it as a 0, which first of all is devastating. That is absolutely devastating because, 50% of your grade is a 0. You cannot pass that class. I don't care if you get 100% on your other tests. I don't care if you get 100% and 10% with extra credit. You're not passing that class. So at this point, the spoiled kid, who definitely doesn't want to like have to redo the class again, is like, I don't think so. I'm going to finish this test and like, I'm going to hand it to you and you're going to grade it. And the teacher is like, bro, in his head, he's like, you're talking back to me? And Finn is starting to be like, oh my God, like, I'm going to need the whole 2 hours to finish this test because I can't pay attention for the life of me. And the teacher's like, are you talking back to me? And at this whole time in the beginning, the teacher and the spoiled kid were kind of whisper fighting back and forth. But now the teacher full on said in his full voice, are you talking back to me? And like the whole class turns and looks, right? The whole test has been derailed. And the spoiled kid's like, if I were you, I would be careful, Mr. Teacher. Because here's the thing. Here's the thing you gotta know. The teachers who cross me and cross me bad, my dad knows a person or two on the board. They know a person or two, right? And the thing is, if I give my dad a word that you, sir, are being, mischievous. Okay, I don't think he said mischievous, though. I don't think that's the word choice. But if you, sir, are messing with me, bro, then I don't know. Maybe you're going to have to find a new job. I mean, I heard McDonald's is hiring, bro. At this point, the teacher and the spoiled kid, it's like a 1v1 face-off right now. They're both looking at each other. They both very much dislike each other at this point, and they're kind of just having a bit of a stare-off. And at this point, Finn could basically, if Finn had a butter knife on him, he could cut the tension in the room right in half. And the teacher looks at him and takes one step closer to the spoiled kid. Because the one thing the spoiled kid didn't know was that this teacher was not any old teacher. This teacher has been at the school for so many years. This teacher doesn't just have tenure, he has like tenure plus, bro. He has like the next version of tenure. This guy is entrenched in the establishment of this school. This guy is like whatever connections his dad has or whatever kind of donor this dad has, it will not have any impact. And the teacher goes up to him, the spoiled kid, and says, do it. Call your dad and tell him to fire me. Do it. I dare you. At this point, the spoiled kid's face went from like a smug smile to complete shock and horror because like he was convinced that this would be enough for the teacher to fold. Apparently, this has worked every other time the spoiled kid has done it. So the spoiled kid was like, oh my, like he's not taking it, sitting down. What? Real quick comment, spoiled if you made it this far into the video. I'm going to try and heart as many comments as I can, and if you want to support the channel, all you got to do is continue watching videos after this one. You can do them by looking in the recommended section for other videos, or you can go to my channel page, which has playlists. I have playlists for spoiled kids, high school stories, Karen videos, whatever you want, it's there. And by the way, if you like watching these videos on the go, I have a Spotify. It is first link in the description. It's called, or just look up Connor Pugs on Spotify. And please, if you do listen on there, rate it 5 stars and follow me. And even if you like, I don't know if you're a huge Spotify guy, as an incentive, every episode is put up about an hour or two early on there. So if you want a sneak peek, go to my Spotify. And finally, use code ConnorPugs for 10% off Gamer Subs. It helps you. It helps me submit stories to either my Instagram or Twitter account. And join the Discord server. A lot of you guys don't know we have one. It's in the description. With all that promo out of the way, let's get back into it. So Finn is sitting there as the spoiled kid versus the teacher, they're facing off, right? And the teacher just dropped a bomb, basically called the spoiled kid's bluff and said, sure, go ahead and do it. And the spoiled kid, at this point, basically knows he's in defeat. So the spoiled kid is just like completely frozen. Because remember, the spoiled kid has probably used this line in other classes where he's like, oh, well, you know what? My dad knows a lot of trustees. My dad can totally sue you. My dad can get you out of the school. Do you want a job? And look, as much as the teachers want to uphold integrity and a good learning environment, they also want to eat. You know what I mean? They also want to eat. So I kind of get it. But at this point, this teacher's been around for so long that he knows that, this spoiled kid's dad, I don't care if he donated to the school building, he's not doing anything, bro. Because that building has already been donated, and they don't need another one. So at this point, the spoiled kid watches as the teacher goes over, goes on his desk, grabs his paper, and walks to the front of the class. And the spoiled kid is shouting like, I'm giving you one more chance. I'm giving you one more chance, or I'm going to call my dad, and he's going to get you fired. You know how much money my dad has? You know how much donation ability he has? You know who does know? The school. The school knows. And the teacher turns around and says, son, I've been here for 40 years. I know everyone who works here. I guarantee you, tell your dad to make that call and tell him that you were cheating in my class and that I caught you. And if that's the reason I get fired, then that's the way I go out. So at this point, the entire class has been derailed. And the spoiled kid gets up. He gets out of his chair. He says, you know what? We'll see about that. And he gets up and he walks out of the class. So the teacher's like, all right, class, I apologize for the distraction. You guys will be, unless you have other events, and then you can work that out with me, I'm tacking on another 15 minutes at the end of class, just in case someone goes that far. So sure enough, right, Finn continues the test. He goes about an hour, 30 minutes in. When he completes it, he feels pretty good about it. And the aftermath of what happens is the spoiled kid never returns to the class. The spoiled kid fails the class but drops it, so it's like not part of his grade or something. And the spoiled kid did complain to the dad, and the teacher was never fired. So yeah, that just shows you that just because your dad donates a lot of money doesn't mean that you can cheat in class. We're going to call the subscriber for the next story of a teacher owning a spoiled kid, Jake. So anyways, Jake is in the third kid. Jake is in the third grade, guys. And there's also a spoiled kid, right? There's a spoiled kid in the class. And the thing is, Jake comes from a lower income family. He isn't afforded all the newest stuff. Sometimes, the meals he has aren't the greatest. Sometimes he has to wear the same clothes again and again. Sometimes, he has to, walk to school, which makes him a bit late because his mom can't bring him in. This happens. The spoiled kid, right? And once again, just because you have more money doesn't inherently make you a bad person. If you feel entitled and you feel like you are just a better person because you have more money, then yeah, maybe you're not so great, right? So sure enough, Jake and the spoiled kid, they're sitting down, and the spoiled kid just blatantly starts making fun of Jake. Because remember, they're in third grade, and the spoiled kid's like, Jake, you're smelling so bad today. And the thing was, right, Jake just didn't, he had to wear these clothes again. He didn't have time to wash them. He didn't have enough other pairs. He had to wear these again. And the spoiled kid's like, is that a hole I see? And the spoiled kid goes over and starts touching Jake's clothes. And Jake's like, stop, bro, can you get off of me? And the spoiled kid's like, oh, Jake, I think I've seen you wear those clothes every single day. The spoiled kid says, I pride myself in the fact that I wear a new outfit, a fresh combination of clothes every single day. Jake, I just wish that you would put in the bare minimum effort. And Jake goes on to say, hey, bro, maybe, look, I just can't afford all those clothes. That's the difference between you and me. It's not that I'm not trying to put in effort, which is this really the important place to put your effort and your clothing combinations? But nevertheless, yeah, it's not that I'm not putting in the effort. It's that I just don't have the ability to do that. And the spoiled kid says, oh, so your parents don't work as hard as me. And the thing is, right, Jake did not like to hear this because his mom worked 2 jobs. That's not what you want to hear. And she was the only one in the household who was making money. So Jake was not a fan of this at all. And Jake was like, dude, it is not a thing about how hard you work. And the spoiled kid's like, well, then why do your parents make less than mine? And just so you guys know a little bit of context, in this class, there was something called like a star system. If you guys watch SpongeBob, think about like the buddy stars in Miss Puff Bowden class. It was the same deal. I bet the teacher liked SpongeBob and was inspired by it. Basically, when you did good things, you accumulated buddy stars, such as continuously turning in your stuff on time, being good in class, I don't know, just doing good things. And if you did bad things, you lost them. And after a certain point of buddy stars, you got certain privileges, such as, I don't know, extended recess, home. You can like choose not to do. There's some homeworks that were you didn't have to do if you had enough buddy stars, stuff like that, right? And the thing was, the spoiled kid was like just a little bit over the extended recess number of buddy stars. And all of a sudden, right, the teacher has been listening in, not all of a sudden, but throughout this conversation, the teacher who assigns and takes away the buddy stars has been listening to the spoiled kid berate this kid basically for, not being in the same financial situation as him. And Jake goes on to say, like, bro, like, this isn't cool. Mind your own business. I'm just going to go work on the thing. Because they were all assigned to work on some, like, arts and crafts project while they did, and that's why the spoiled kid actually came over and started taunting Jake, because he had nothing better to do, because he finished his project. And the spoiled kid's like, oh, let me look over. Seems like a lack of talent from you. Why is that, you might ask? Well, I think it's because, you're just not as good. Because, I don't know, there's other indications to make me feel that way. And Jake's like, what? Like, what do you have to say now? And the spoiled kid's like, well, I kind of think that, like, how rich you are is kind of, like, directly proportional to how good you are as a person, like how much value you have. I don't know if he said directly proportional, but you guys get what I mean. And Jake's like, bro, like that's insane and insensitive. And the spoiled kid's like, I don't know. I mean, if you look at my arts and crafts over there, it is just significantly better. And it was not significantly better. Maybe it was like a little better, I guess, right? I guess subjectively, one could say it was better. But, like, come on now, bro. Like, let's chill out for a second. But sure enough, the spoiled kid goes on to be like, maybe you should have more respect for me. Maybe, Jake, you should have more respect for your financial elders. Which, when I got a DM about this, and because I got in quotes, financial elders, I thought that was the funniest thing ever. Because you always hear, like, older people or younger people saying this expression of, like, you got to respect your elders, like, and that's because, like, there's a lot of compound knowledge. They just happen to know a lot from experience. In some cases, not everyone who's old is smart or knows a thing or two or is wise, but a lot of them are. But respect your financial elders. Basically, this spoiled kid took a actual saying that makes a lot of sense, and I think is a good rule to live by, and just basically morphed it into his like crazy conception of if your parents make money, then their descendant is just immediately a fantastic person who is better than everyone else. And at this point, right, the teacher's heard enough. And he walks over, he's like, spoiled kid, I've been listening to this conversation for the last 10 minutes. And you could see the look on the spoiled kid's face like, oh boy, I'm in trouble now. And the teacher's like, I just can't believe you truly believe these things. Like, these are really offensive notions. And Jake is kind of sitting back with a little bit of a smirk on his face because he knows for a fact what is about to happen. And the spoiled kid also knows what is about to happen because whenever the teacher confronts someone saying something not very nice, he immediately goes to the buddy stars. And the spoiled kid's like, because the spoiled kid just went over the threshold for getting enough buddy stars to have extra recess. The spoiled kid's like, no, it's not what you think. It's not what you think. I swear. It's not what you think. And the teacher's like, I'm sorry. I heard what I heard. And the teacher starts walking over to the buddy star system. And the spoiled kid turns over to Jake and is like, you did this. And you did this specifically because you hate me because I have more money than you. And Jake's like, dude, I didn't do anything. I just had a conversation with you. And they both turn around as the teacher doesn't take one buddy star off, but takes 3. And just for a little bit of context, to get over the allotted number of buddy stars to have extra recess, it was like 4. So taking 3 away, so he had 5 before, he was now down to 2. And getting buddy stars was super, super hard. And so at this point, like, Finn is like, or Jake is like, oh yeah, bro, like, this is fire. Because, like, he thought he was going to lose 1 buddy star, but he lost 3, which is, like, weeks and weeks of effort. Anyways, the moral of the story is don't think you're better than someone else because of something that you can't control. And also don't think you're worse than someone else because of something you can't control. Or even things that you can control in a lot of cases. Anyways, let's go on to the next and final story. I wanted to call the last person Princess Bubblegum because I was on the whole like Finn. You know what? Because I did Finn and Jake. I wanted to call the last person Princess Bubblegum. But who's gonna stop me? Who's gonna stop me? No one, not you. So I'm calling the last subscriber Princess Bubblegum, and you have to take it with a straight face. I'm doing this with a straight face. So oh no, I'm doing this straight face. Princess Bubblegum, there was a spoiled kid in class. And this spoiled kid in class, basically... So Princess Bubblegum was new to the, let's just say the 7th grade. I didn't really get a specific grade that she was in, but we're just going to say the 7th grade because judging by the rest of the story, it makes about sense there. So Princess Bubblegum, this is the name I'm using. She's normal, so don't think of actual Princess Bubblegum. But Princess Bubblegum was new to the 7th grade of a new high school. Her mom or dad recently changed jobs, so they had to move to a whole new place. And, she was freshly enrolled in the new high school that happened to be in her new location. So anyways, right, she's getting there. She walks in, and on the first day, she sits down. She's nervous. I mean, who wouldn't be nervous, right? It's a nerve-wracking thing. And she sits down, and the teacher's like, hey, everyone, I'd like you to welcome... And says, hey, what's your name again? She said, Princess Bubblegum. I'd like you to welcome Princess Bubblegum to the class. Everyone's like, hello, Princess Bubblegum. Welcome, right? And there's also a spoiled kid in this class. And we're going to call him Spoiled Kid. And the Spoiled Kid had, slicked back hair. He wore sunglasses in class, even though his teachers told him many times, dude, can you not do that? That looks weird. And he's like, no, you can't stop me. And they got him in trouble a few times. But now he just permanently wears aviator sunglasses, trying to be the coolest dude ever. He's also got a super fancy watch on that he got for his 13th birthday party, or his 13th birthday from his parents, which I don't know about you, but I think I got a Star Wars action figure, which it was fire. I'm sure I loved it. Don't get me wrong. I would have liked that a lot more than a watch, bro. But I'm just saying, who's dishing out a Rolex to some 13-year-old kid? Anyways, though, the spoiled kid's immediately, as soon as the teacher wasn't teaching class, there was some lull, or maybe they're oh, go and do some project or something. The spoiled kid immediately sits next to Princess Bubblegum and is like, what's good, baby? My name's Spoiled Kid. Obviously, says his real name, as Princess Bubblegum's not her real name, but she's like, oh, hi there. My name's Princess Bubblegum. I just moved into the town, and therefore, I'm starting high school here. I don't really know that many people. How's it going? He's like, it's good. My day was okay, but then it was great when you blessed my presence. And she's like, okay, nice. Anyways, though, I'm excited to be here, and is there anything I should know before I move in? I don't know. Is there something I should know about the town or a good place to go? He's like, oh, baby, I know so many good places. I know so many good places that I could take you. I can drive. And she's like, what? Because the thing is, right, she really can't, he can't actually drive legally. I think he's 15 or something. And she's like, wait, you can drive? He's like, well, I mean, not legally, but yeah, I do. Basically, Dad just lets me, he's a leftover G-Wagon. He just lets me ride it around. So, babe, if you want to hop in my new whip, just give me a call and I totally got you. And she's like, okay. At this point, Princess Bubblegum was starting to realize that, okay, maybe this guy has other intentions that I kind of didn't even realize at first. Okay, let's try and back out of this respectfully. So then the spoiled kid goes on to say, so, baby, what are you doing tonight after school? I can definitely take you out on my new whip. At this point, the teacher starts to, overhear this conversation. And Princess Bubblegum is like, well, I should really be home with my parents. We're still unpacking, still getting acclimated. He's like, okay, babe, so what about this weekend? How's that going for you? Baby doll. He just starts saying stuff like that. And she's like, well, I don't know. This weekend, I just don't know if I should be going out. The spoiled kid's like, babe, that I got that bread right? And she's like, sure. Okay. He's like, babe, I don't know. I know you want me. I just don't totally get why you're just not going full in. Why you're just not embracing my love like you should. And she's kind of just like, yo, what? At this point, the teacher started to be like, hey, bro. And sure enough, Princess Bubblegum's like, hey, look, appreciate the offer. I just don't want to be in any relationships this early. I just got to get to know people. I want to make some friends. I'd love to be your friend. And not really, but like, I'd love to be your friend. Okay, she didn't say not really, but you know what I mean. She's like, I'd love to be your friend, but I think I have to just start as that at a minimum. I can't rush into a relationship. And the spoiled kid gets really upset. And he's like, what? Dude, did you not hear me? I literally have a G-Wagon to ride around in. I have the fattest whip ever. Do you see the ice on my wrist? He whips around his hand with this Rolex on. He starts shaking it around. And he's like, I just don't get it. Why do you hate yourself? Because you obviously hate yourself if you don't want to go with me. Because, dude, I have a fat whip and drip on my wrist. And at this point, the teacher steps in. He's like, hey, spoiled kid. Spoiled kid's like, sup, teach? He's like, please don't, stop pressuring this young lady. She made it very clear that she's not into you. And just because, you have a quote-unquote nice whip, whatever the kids are calling cars now these days, and that you have a nice watch, doesn't mean that, this lady's going to like you. She's made it quite clear, and at this point, you're just making her uncomfortable. Teacher completely came out of the blue and just, boom, explosion, right in the spoiled kid's face, basically. And every single person turns around and looks at him. And the spoiled kid's like, teacher, I don't think you understand. She definitely is into me. So the teacher's like, all right, well, Bubblegum, not to put you on the spot, but are you? And, Princess Bubblegum, a little annoyed by the spoiled kid, is like, no, I'm sorry. Spoiled kid's like, you'll regret this when I got even hotter babe in my whip. And he goes to the back of the classroom. So after class, Princess Bubblegum is approached by a group of girls. And, Bubblegum kind of knows, Mean Girls, I don't know, high school dynamics or middle school dynamics. She's just expecting to be bullied by these girls, but the girls come up and they say, I'm so sorry about Tyler back there. Let's call the spoiled kid Tyler. She's like, it's okay, it's whatever. And they're like, no, it's not. You're new here. That's not okay for him to make you feel uncomfortable on the first day. You know what, girls? We've been talking about it, and we want you, Bubblegum, to hang out with us. Bubblegum's like, oh, thank you. And from that day on, Bubblegum met her new group of friends. And Tyler, the spoiled kid, still to this day has unsuccessfully seduced any women with his fat whip and his
Click on the video on
dripped-out
screen right now.
wrist.
I know you'll enjoy it. Just click it. Do it.